Hi, I'm Nicole Presley. For those of you that don't know me, thank you so much for joining us today. My handle is Presley's Pantry. I think our camera just got moved, but there you go. My handle is Presley's Pantry, and today we're gonna make vegetarian lasagna. So it's all about the sauce. But before I even get into that, thank you so much for joining us. I see some of my friends. Hi, Amy. Come on in. Thank you so much. It's all about the sauce today. So with that being said, before we even start with our sauce, let's get a little saucy and serve ourselves a drink. So I'm gonna go ahead and serve myself a glass of wine. I have a chilled Pinot Grigio. Feel free to serve yourself a glass of wine too. And here's a little tip that I like to keep my wine cool. And it's, you know, I know that's a big faux pas for some people, but instead of adding an ice cube, I add a piece of frozen fruit. So I'm going ahead and slices. And again, thanks for coming in. Salud. Perfect. So before I start, let me just go over some of the rules. If you have a question, go ahead and ask in the box and we will try and answer as many as possible. She's gonna help me. If I miss a question, she'll let me know. So feel free. If we're going too fast, let us know as well. So, okay, let's start. So we're gonna make a sauce. The thing with this lasagna is it's a really, really simple recipe. And people always say like, oh, lasagna is so easy. And it is, it's super easy. But if you get it wrong, you get it really wrong. It's sort of like Snoopy. When people draw Snoopy, you know, Snoopy's an easy character to draw, but if you get that eyebrow wrong or the little ear wrong, it's like the piñata version. So we're gonna go ahead and make our easy lasagna, and I'm gonna teach you all of my little tips and tricks. And I gotta say, the truth of the matter is that I change this recipe every time I make it. And today, because we have a little bit of a time constraint, we're gonna make a super duper sauce. And instead of sauteing our veggies separately, it's all gonna go in the sauce. So first things first, let's preheat our oven to 375. How's everybody doing today? Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn on my flame. I have a big cast iron pan. You can use, I like to use a bigger pot just so that I can really mix and see how much I got going, because the sauce is what's going to cook our noodles. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with about 2 tablespoons of olive oil just to coat the bottom of my pot and let that heat up. All right. I have onions chopped already. So as soon as my pan heats up, I'm gonna add in the onion, and I'm also gonna add in my chopped zucchini. Typically I would maybe not do a sauce with a lot of vegetables in it and maybe saute the veggies on the side, but I'm gonna build all the flavor in this sauce, and I think you guys are really gonna like it. It's super simple and absolutely delicious. As I let my oil heat up, I'll tell you, I spent some time in Italy not too long ago, and what I learned about the flavors of real Italian food is that they are so simple. So really, they're just like, they build on top of each other, but it's not just like a cluster of stuff. It's just simple layers built on top of each other. And that was my takeaway when coming back to the States. I'm like, okay, don't go crazy. They're just simple flavors that we can find all of our flavors in Northgate. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and just start with, this is about a small onion, and I just cut the onion into small little diced cubes. I'm just gonna saute this a little bit. Did everybody have their ingredients pressed already, I wonder? Any questions? I love that sizzle. That sizzle tells me that the oil was the perfect heat and it's a great temperature for sauteing. So I'm only gonna start with the onion for a few minutes, and then I'm gonna add in the zucchini. The sizzle's is like your own personal cheering section. It's like cheering you on. Tere, are you cooking alongside with me today, Tere?
No, I get to see. I get to look and learn and cook after.
Well, this is a good recipe if you're having people over for the weekend and you want to make it ahead of time. You can also make this ahead of time and then bake it, maybe an hour or two before your guests arrive. So you could assemble it the night before, and then that way you have a lot of time to, fix your hair or polish your nails or tend to your garden, whatever makes you happy. Okay. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and add in my zucchini. This is 2 zucchinis, 2 small zucchinis, and I also diced them. And again, just gonna mix them in so that we could saute. I might add a little bit more olive oil just to keep them sauteed side. While this is sauteing, I'm gonna go ahead and cut up my garlic. That I didn't get prepared. I just peeled the garlic, but I'm gonna go ahead and slice my garlic while that's sauteing. yeah, this is a really good recipe if you're gonna have people over for the weekend, and with the new CDC saying that we might be able to lift mask mandates soon. That's, you know, welcome to news. I'm sure people want to see their families and, you know, so it's good. All right. Do we have any questions? So I'm just slicing this garlic up, and I'm just really gonna mince it. So, you know, everybody has a different method with how they mince garlic. If you've ever seen Goodfellas, they like paper thin cut the garlic. I wish I had that sort of patience and time, but I usually cut it big and then just really chop into it and continue to. It's an awesome technique, the Goodfellas technique.
Right. It looks so good, Nicole. And we do have people cooking with you this evening, so cool.
Yeah. Oh, that makes me so happy. I want to see everyone's creations. Like, we really hope that at the end, when you pull your lasagna out of the oven, that you will tag us so we can see your final creation. Right, Cheddar?
Yes, I'm so excited. And I'm very excited because Nicole usually does our kids classes, and now she's part of our adult classes, and she's bringing some vegetarian menu items that I know a lot of you guys have been requesting. So welcome to our adult classes, Nicole.
Yay. Oh, that makes me so happy. I grew up, Tere. I grew up.
You're still loved by all our little friends too.
Oh, yeah, of course. I'd love to be with our little friends anytime as well. But at the adult class, we get to have another sip of wine, right? So cheers.
Salud.
All right. There we go. So can't forget about our veggies. And you can see that the onion is translucent and the zucchini is starting to brown here and there. That's a really good sign. That means now, I know, sorry I keep on pounding. That's like part of my DNA. I'm gonna add in this is about, you know, 1 basket of mushrooms that I sliced, so it's probably a little bit more. Okay, was there a question? Let's see.
Are chopped tomatoes the same as diced tomatoes? Yep.
So we like canned tomatoes for this recipe, especially. I use chopped or I use crushed, just depending on what I can find in the market. But yeah, absolutely. And just mixing that all in. That's a good question though. Thank you for asking. Okay. So now I'm gonna go ahead and just pepper my mixture, add some flavor to it. And this is really about a personal taste. If you like a lot of pepper, then feel heavy-handed. If you don't, then just give it a little bit. I'm also gonna add some chili flakes and just literally a pinch. Maybe 2 pinches. And some salt. And I've probably used about a half a teaspoon of salt and probably a half a teaspoon of pepper and 2 pinches of chili flakes. I'm gonna lower this just a little bit because the heat is really hot on my hand. So I know that this is super hot, but it's coming together really nicely. You could see a good indication that you're cooking this right is that there's a little tiny bit of residue of liquid in the pot from the mushrooms, but not too much, which means that the pot's hot enough that it's evaporating that liquid quickly. And that's what we're looking for. Do I have any questions?
No, everything looks great, Nicole.
Okay, so next we are gonna continue chopping our garlic because I'm gonna add that in to my sauce next. All right. I love that people are cooking along and asking questions. Please feel free to ask anything you want. We're here to answer.
All the garlic, correct, Nicole?
All the garlic, yeah. The rule of thumb is usually if you're making something that's, in this case, I'm going to use a 9 by 13 inch pan. And usually the rule of thumb is 1 garlic clove per person. So if you're making something that's going to serve a party of 5 or 6, then 5 to 6 garlic cloves. If you're making something that's small and is only going to be for 2, then 2 garlic cloves.
Thank you. That's a nice hit.
You're welcome. All right. So you can see how fine I chopped my garlic. It's not teeny tiny, but it's not big either. And that's just going to go in there too. Yeah, I mean, that's how we learn. All right. Okay, let's see. Well, I see one piece that didn't make the small cut. All right, so here we go. And it's getting stuck a little bit to the bottom, which I like, because that means all that flavor is gonna get in my sauce. And do you see what I mean by using a big pan? Like it really allows you to scoop in there and mix everything together. Okay. Oh, it smells like heaven. I think I want to lower the flame just a little bit right now. If you're at this point, feel free to lower as well. And I'm gonna just come over here and pull some basil off of this little basil plant I have, and I'm gonna add that to the sauce too. So I'm just gonna take about 4 or 5 basil leaves. You guys have your basil leaves ready to go. This is just good. I'm just gonna take a few basil leaves, oops, and give these a wash really quick. What was the question? Did you see the question, Tere? What
yeah, that they bought a plant too. So how cool is that?
Oh my God, I'll give you some tips on how to keep your plant. Okay, so I forever have a basil plant in my house. It is very easy to keep. I either put it in a bowl like that, or if it's a smaller one like this, look. If it's a smaller one like this, I keep it in a little jar, and every day you just fill it up with water up to here, and it sprouts. But in this case, like I put this one in this bowl, and they just put water at the bottom and put it in a place where there's a lot of sun, and you'll have basil all the time. So I always have fresh basil on hand. Okay, so I washed that basil, and I'm just gonna roll it up into, get it together so that we can chop it easily and just chop it thin, almost like a julienne chop. It's like a little burrito. Just roll them all together. And I feel like if I chop it like this, it opens up the basil plant and it gives my sauce more flavor. Okay. So I'm gonna add this in, and it's not a lot, it's just a little. And add that in. And you see that on the bottom, that's okay. We're not angry about that. All right, so a little basil goes a long way. So now I think it's time for us to add in the tomatoes. All right, let's see. And canned tomato. Canned tomato is so easy. I'm using the crushed tomato. If I had the cubed one, I'd use the cubed one, but this one's easy. And the whole can with all of its juices and everything goes into the sauce. So here we go. I want that to splatter on me or cut me. Okay, so that's out. And then I couldn't find two big cans, so I had to only use a smaller can. I'm gonna add tomato sauce to this as well. Little bit of tomato sauce.
And you add about how many cups of the canned tomato do we add? We said it was 1 can.
It's 1 can, which is about 4 cups in this 1 can. Let me see how many ounces. It comes down to 4 cups. It's 24 ounces. I mean, it's 28 ounces. And then I'm adding more just tomato sauce on top of it. So I'm gonna add probably like 1 more little can just because I want to be sure I have enough. I added 28 ounces of the crushed tomatoes, and then I added 15 ounces of the regular tomato sauce. But just to be absolutely certain, I think I'm gonna add another 15 ounces of regular tomato sauce to this so that I'm sure we have enough sauce for our lasagna. And if we have any extra, we can put it on the top. Does that make sense?
Yes.
If we were boiling pasta, like let's say, because this sauce is really versatile. If you were boiling pasta and you wanted to make a red sauce, you could make this sauce and then put it on your linguine or put it on your rigatoni or whatever your pasta of choice is. If you were then boiling pasta, I highly suggest that once your pasta is almost ready, I mean, I like to make mine al dente, you take about half a cup of that starchy water and you pour it in your sauce, and it helps bind your sauce to your pasta. And it's a really good way to go about it. But okay, what's the question? When you get to the cheese, what?
When you get to the cheese part, are there any suggestions to substitute cheese? I have a few family members that are lactose intolerant.
Well, you could always go without the cheese if you don't want to use cheese. I mean, the sauce is tasty enough that you don't necessarily have to use cheese, or you can find a vegan cheese. I've always used cheese, so I don't know. Okay, so here's another little tip. Whenever you're making a red sauce, it's very acidic and we added salt to it. We also want to add a pinch of sugar. So this is sugar in my hand, and I'm going to add that to my sauce. And I promise you, it makes all the difference in the world. So those were 3 small little pinches of sugar that I used, and I'm going to mix that in. And then I'm going to just lower the heat on this. I'm going to bring it to a simmer, and we're going to work on our ricotta filling because we got to spice up that ricotta. All right. Let me just take a spoon and taste this sauce and make sure it's exactly how I want it. If you don't want to add cheese, you'll be golden. I mean, we'll see. Let me taste this. Yeah, this sauce is really yummy. Okay. I'm just going to lower it all the way down and put a lid on it and move on over to the ricotta. Okay. So here's the regular ricotta. What I usually like to do to it is just add some extra flavor to it, because if you also use this to help your lasagna stay layered, and it can be a dull taste if you don't spice it up. So we're gonna cut some basil and add basil to it, and we're also gonna add probably the majority of our Parmesan cheese to the ricotta. So let's do that. Get your ricotta in a bowl. I already did that. And add about a cup of Parmesan cheese. This is freshly grated Parmesan cheese, and I'm gonna eyeball it and add about a cup here to that. And you could mix that in. And feel free to taste it. You could add garlic to it if you want to spice it up with some garlic.
And how much ricotta are you adding?
This is 15 ounces of ricotta. So, if you love ricotta, you could use more. But if you just want to keep your lasagna together, this is 15 ounces right here. Okay. And then I'm going to add some pepper to that as well. It looks like cottage cheese, huh? And if you need a sip of wine, feel free to have it now. Cheers. Okay, so I'm gonna take my, what is it? I missed it. What did you miss, Bobby? How can I help you? What do you need?
What was the first thing you added to the ricotta?
I added Parmesan cheese. Let me show again. This is my Parmesan cheese, and it's just freshly grated, and I eyeballed it. I added about a cup of Parmesan cheese to the ricotta, and I'm adding pepper, and now I'm adding basil. Cheers. Yay. Yes. Hi, Abril. Welcome to the
Friday
party,
somewhere.
Okay, so I'm just gonna take maybe like six basil leaves, and we're gonna dice these basil leaves up and put them in our ricotta. And then we're gonna be ready. We're gonna be ready to start layering and get our lasagna in the oven. Yeah, basil is king. Like, it's such a an understated, delicious herb that I obviously I can't live without. I keep it in my house and add it to salads and my pasta and all sorts of stuff. Put it in my awas. I made a really beautiful strawberry, watermelon, or sandia, fresa, and basil awa yesterday, and it was so refreshing and gorgeous.
I've had the sandia basil water. It's really good.
Right? At the spa, you go to the spa and you feel all fancy with the basil water. And it's so pretty in the window. It's a pick-me-up in my kitchen, and I love it. Okay. So again, we're gonna turn it into a little burrito, and we're just gonna cut it small and add it into our ricotta. All right. Is everyone having a nice thirsty Thursday? Or are people just excited about this new mask mandate?
You know what? It's just a beautiful day outside.
Right? It's been a beautiful day. I got my taxes done today, right before the deadline. So I'm on cloud 9. It's a gorgeous week. I don't mind the overcast. It sets the tone to make like arroz con leche or to make cookies or make banana bread. I think it's banana bread craze season again. Okay, so I went ahead and cut the basil strips in half, and I'm just gonna add it into my ricotta. And it's just a slight little extra steps that make all the difference in the world. Especially if you're making a meatless dish, you want to give it all the extra care because flavor is king, and just taking those extra moments to flavor your ricotta is what's going to make your lasagna stand out versus the next one. Okay. All right. Looks like we're ready to move on to the next step. So, here's my thing. When I make lasagna, I just use my lasagna right out of the box. We don't boil. I learned a long time ago, a chef friend of mine when I was a young girl taught me this trick. And you figure if you boil the lasagna prior to layering it, then you already have cooked your pasta. Then it's gonna go in sauce, so it's gonna cook a longer amount of time. And then when you go to cut it, you're just gonna have mush. Your noodles are gonna go to mush. So using your noodles raw and then putting it in the oven for an hour, your pasta cooks perfectly al dente, and when it cools slightly, it stays firm, it looks beautiful, and you have the perfect consistency with your pasta. So today, no boiling.
So I just learned something because I always boil it, and like you say, it's crazy how it sticks and everything. So
yeah, no more.
Can't wait to try it.
Yeah. The only time I boil my lasagna noodles is if I'm gonna make lasagna rolls. Then obviously I need to boil them to roll them. But if I'm making a tray of lasagna, no way. And it makes it easier. Then you can just focus on your sauce. You can focus on your ricotta. You're already working by grating your cheese. Like boiled noodles, don't need it. Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
So I'm gonna move my sauce off of the stove. Let me see. So that I can work with it easier. Let me move this too. And I had the lasagna tray on a cookie sheet because, you know, lasagna bubbles and you don't want that mess all over your oven. So just get an old cookie sheet and don't worry about it. So we're gonna start with just taking a cup of our sauce and making sure the bottom of our Pyrex, I'm using a 13x9 casserole dish. We just want to make sure that it's covered. Like every area has a little bit of sauce so that our first layer of lasagna has something to cook in. And that's always the most important part of this recipe is this part, making sure that the bottom is fully covered. Because everything else that goes on top of it is gonna fall into the rest of the pasta. So we don't need to worry that much after this, okay? So now, this is fun. It's like building a jigsaw puzzle. You just take a piece and you sort of measure it and break. So those, don't worry if it's not perfect, like that's not perfect by any means, but we're gonna fill in the gaps with the broken pieces. So there you go. Yeah, I love this part. I love this part of the process. It's fun. And if you've had a crazy day, you can break pasta, you know. Some people break, what is it, the Greeks that break plates, Tere?
Yes.
Yeah, like, okay, well, it's like playing a game, you know, like fit all the pasta in.
Okay, so we're all trusting you on this lasagna. I think this is the first time we ever heard of this, but then of the raw or the non-boiled lasagna, and everybody's saying they're going to trust you, but they're asking, do you need to oil the baking dish or just
nope.
Nope,
you could just go ahead and put it right in with the sauce on the bottom. The only thing that's super important is to make sure that you have enough liquid at the bottom, and that's it. Like, can you see like if I push against, you could see the sauce through my pasta. And if you think about it, pasta takes normally what? Okay, it takes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to boil. Well, it's going to be in the oven for an hour. And in a sauce, it's going to boil. It's going to cook through, I promise. This is how it's done in parts of Italy. And like I said, a chef friend taught me how to do this when I was a young girl, and I've never done it any other way. I promise you guys. It makes total
sense, but maybe, I don't know. Over the years, that's how we were taught.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's the best way. I'm excited because I think you guys will do it this way moving forward.
You're stealing the hacks from Avril. She's the hack queen.
The hack queen?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. These are my adult classes. I got tons of hacks. Me and Avril are going to have our hack club happily together. Okay. So, yeah, I think you guys are going to be pleasantly surprised at how delicious this is.
So they're asking if it is okay that the edges aren't fully covered.
Yep, it's fine because we're adding after this. As you can see, I just added another cup of sauce right to the top. And I'm just going to make sure, to cover the pasta. And we have all these other little veggies in here. So you guys are going to be happy. I'm like, don't worry about it. Let's just layer our pasta. You're going to be so happy. How awesome, how funny would it be though, that if people were like, lasagna fail.
No,
Don't
no,
worry, it's
we
not gonna
trust
happen.
you.
Yeah, it's gonna be fine. I promise you guys, it's so good this way. I'm all about pasta al dente, and I can't handle when pasta's overcooked. Yeah. Okay. So now I've covered my pasta, my first layer, and now I am going to add a little bit of spinach in here. So I'm gonna put a layer of spinach on this layer here. And like I said before, if you wanted, you could have just sauteed your veggies separately. I just sauteed them in the sauce because of a time constraint. But if I had all the time in the world, I may have sauteed my veggies separately and did a layer of veggies here. So just easy, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's gonna get cooked in. Okay. And next, I'm gonna add in a handful, like a big handful of mozzarella cheese. A big handful, maybe another big handful. Some cheese. And then let's add a little bit of parmesan in here. Isn't it nice when someone throws a wrench into something you've always already known a certain way and just something new?
Well, let me tell you, lately I've been hanging around you girls too much because I've been thrown so many wrenches lately. You guys are awesome.
You know, I'm not in the circus, okay? I don't feel like catching wrenches right now.
Well,
okay.
You know what? I just love to learn new things. It's really cool.
That's awesome. I'm a mechanic. I got wrenches all day long, Tere. Okay, so I'm gonna take a big spoonful of my ricotta and I'm just gonna drop it like maybe 3 per row, little dollops of ricotta, depending on how much you like, how little bit you like. Yeah, I'm using my fingers. Don't worry, I'm gonna wash my hands. And this ricotta is already seasoned. We pre-seasoned it. And like I said before, you can add whatever you'd like to it. You could add garlic to it. You could add other herbs. You could add sauteed mushrooms. You could add other cheeses, just make it your own, or you could do just a simple one with nothing. But I think it tastes nice if you add the Parmesan cheese. Okay, let me clean my hands.
So your friend Avril just said that she wants to have a hack off. We're gonna have to work on that.
Okay, can't we?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to have a hack
during
week.
my class. Can't me and Avril have a class together? Can you imagine how much fun we would have?
Yeah,
we'll
have a hack off week.
Universe. Okay, so now let's see. We're back to our lasagna. So we're gonna break again and just get it in there. And all these pieces, you could use them on the side, or you can, if you have leftover sauce the next day, you could make a little lasagna soup. Depends.
Lasagna soup?
Yeah.
Ooh. I'm telling you.
Have all of that. You could even do them this way if you wanted to, like just do one that way and then 4 this way. You could play with it. And because you have layers, you can do it, you can adjust as you go. Yeah, we could do a half lasagna soup. Okay. So just want to make sure it all fits in there. So you see this? This is happiness. You could see the ricotta coming up from the bottom of the pasta and our layering is coming out great. There's empty space right here, so you could go ahead and just cut these and put them in there. Make sure you cover it all. Do I have any questions?
No, not right now, Nicole.
All right, well, just so you know, Tere, this is my definition of happiness right here, lasagna.
It looks delicious. Oh, they want to know your address. We've been telling Avril that we're going to go visit her, but she's too far away.
Right? Well, tell Avril, come on, girlfriend, anytime you want. Let's make a date. I'd love to have you in my kitchen. I'm fully vaxxed, so come on.
That'd be so cool.
Next, we're going to go ahead and add another cup of our sauce right to the top of our noodles. Like, honestly, this is going to be so good. Like, I can't eat this whole tray by myself. That's how you're going to feel when you're done. You're going to be like, who's going to eat this lasagna with me?
You have a camera crew you have to feed.
Right?
And I'm sure your camera crew has friends, so.
He does. My camera crew, I made him a salad earlier. Like, oh well,
you're
you can't
probably
eat.
the most popular mom on the block.
My son's school, I always drop off stuff to them. Well, I used to when it wasn't, crazy, but I hope to get back to that. I'll drop some off tomorrow for you, Tere.
Oh.
All right. So again, we have our sauce down. I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of my spinach. And if you wanted to, you could saute the spinach. You could do an eggplant layer here. You could really get creative. You could even use a plant-based crumble if you wanted to, which is always delicious.
Eggplant sounds good.
Okay. And this time I'm going to put a little bit of, it's like a painting. So I'm just going to add a little bit of mozzarella cheese. Not as much as I did the layer before, because in this layer, we're also going to add some cheddar cheese. Mix it up a little bit. And I'm going to use half of the cheddar cheese that I have, and then the other half I'm going to reserve for the top. But I love, I know cheddar cheese isn't the traditional, but it adds such a nice sharp tang, and you won't want to not use it after this.
The colors are probably going to be gorgeous.
Oh yeah. It really brings, it also gives it that like almost crunchy, crusty look. Cheddar cheese melts perfectly like that. So, and for good measure, because we're here, hello, a little bit of parmesan.
They say they love that you're adding cheddar.
Oh, thank you. I love it too. Okay, so if you're that kind of girl, you can add a little bit of more chili flakes to this if you want to. I'm that kind of girl. And some more pepper. We don't really need any more salt because we're using, the Parmesan, but here we are again. We're back with our ricotta and just making our layers, making it happen here. And just for the record, if you are a meat eater and you want to make your sauce, you could use this exact recipe, but before you start, you just start frying your meat first and then add the sauce, and then add exactly what we did. You would just fry your meat first. So This recipe will work fine if you wanted to add ground pork or ground beef into your sauce. Or like I said, meatless crumbles.
Or turkey. Oh, that sounds so good.
All right. So we're almost getting to the top. We're gonna put another layer. And it really depends on how deep your dish is. I'm gonna try it different. I'm gonna try to layer it a little bit differently this time. So it really depends on how deep your dish is. Like you could go super deep, you know, push it down and do as many layers as possible, which maybe I could do one more layer after this. And that's why I also put a baking sheet at the bottom, because your sauce, of course, is going to want to spill out over the top, and that's okay. You know, it's like the Bee Gees say, how deep is your love? It just depends. Your lasagna love. Did I just get cheesy with that? I didn't mean to. I love the Bee Gees though. All right, let's see. I know that's a little bit messy. It's a messy dish. Okay. Our sauce. Okay, any questions?
No, I think we're good.
All right, but looks like we're pretty good on time too. It's done. So let me talk about, since everybody knows how to do the layers already, let me talk about when you cook this. So you're gonna put it in the oven and you're gonna leave it in there for 50 minutes to 60 minutes, so an hour. And could pierce a knife through it, like just like a steak knife or a fork, and you could pierce the pasta with no problem. Then you know it's done. And that usually takes about an hour to happen. Okay. So now I'm gonna go ahead and start my final. I'm not gonna add another layer of lasagna because I'm at the top of my dish. You might have room still. And if you do, and you run out of sauce, you could always add a little bit more tomato sauce, like to the top to cover your pasta. You just wanna make sure you cover each layer. It's like a real life Jackson Pollock painting with these extra splats. Okay. So I'm finishing it with ricotta, just to make sure I use up all my ricotta, adding my mozzarella to the top, and then I'm going to show you what I do to make it extra pretty. So we have it here. And the more decorative you could get with the cheeses, the better. So here we go. So this is a must for me, to take tomato, and I took out most of the seeds. I mean, there are very few seeds, but just decorate the top of your lasagna with a few slices of tomato, because once the cheese bakes through, it looks so pretty. I know I say this all the time in my classes, but I gotta say it, because you basically eat with your eyes before you eat with your stomach. And if you have something that not only tastes good, but looks good, it's such a game changer. And you feel so happy to sit down and eat. So now I'm gonna put a little bit more cheese on the top, and then we're gonna top it. I'm gonna use all the rest of my whatever mozzarella cheese I have here.
What temperature did you say, Nicole?
375.
Okay.
And it's gonna brown the top of your lasagna, and that is such a welcome treat. Like those crusty browned edges and tops make me weak in the knees. Okay, and see here, I'm gonna finish with the cheddar cheese because this adds a little sharp taste. And you think you're covering the tomatoes, but once the cheese bakes through, you'll have little glimpses of them, and so pretty. And then when it's done, you can add fresh basil to the top, and you'll be done. Okay, and last but not least, let's also put a little bit of parmesan on the top.
Wow. You're in cheese heaven with this.
It looks crazy right now, but when you take it out of the oven, it won't.
Do you put aluminum foil on top of it, or just?
Nope. I just
like that.
I bake it just like that. I want the edges to get really crusty and brown. It's absolutely delicious that way if you can get a really crusty top. So go ahead once you're done with your layering and put your lasagna in the oven for 1 hour at 375. And please make sure to tag us. I am, if you can't see, I'm Presley's Pantry and Northgate Market. We want to see your lasagna. I'm super excited that you spent the day with me. I'm going to go ahead and put my lasagna in the oven. And while I wait for it to cook, I'll have my wine.
Well, thank you, Nicole. And for all of you, no questions so far, but so everybody, if you want to see Nicole's work of art, please look on her Instagram page at Presley's Pantry. It's going to look delicious because I already saw pictures of the one she did the other day. Also, just so you guys know, we will be having classes next week. We have, oh my gosh, trying to see my schedule here. Next week we have Isabella doing a pistachio pasta something here. Let me get it.
A pistachio pasta? That sounds so good, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And now I can't find it. Well, it's a pistachio pasta, and we have Vanessa doing shrimp hamburger in her air fryer. So very excited. And I know that then we have some of these awesome people coming back to do some more recipes. So very exciting for the rest of May. And then June, we start our grilling. So welcome everybody. And thank you everybody. Oh, poblano pasta with pistachio. Thank you, Nicole. That thing's going to be, I don't know. I think it's going to be amazing. Poblano and the peas, the 3 peas. And
poblano pistachio pasta. That's a tongue twister. You're right, Bebe.
Yeah. So we hope to see you soon. And then Nicole, I know you're back at very soon with your with what is it? Your Azteca.
I'm gonna be making a pastel Azteca, which is this really delicious layered, again like a lasagna, but it's an enchilada casserole. It's called the pastel Azteca, and it's unbelievable, and it's a showstopper for sure. So I hope you'll join the class, and it's a great thing for these summer get-togethers that people are gonna have, and that's in June. I believe it's mid-June that I'm teaching that class, right?
Yes. So a lot of classes coming, and hope to see you. But I know that you're also going to be doing other stuff for us. So thank you, Nicole, and thank you everybody for your time today. And see you soon. Bye.
Thank you, Northgate. Thank you, Northgate, for having us. We appreciate it. Thank you for doing this for our community. We love it. And thank you, everybody who joined in. Please tag me. I want to see your lasagna. All right.
Me too. Bye.
Bye, everyone.